I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Tom's work. I got Tom on today. Super appreciative of coming on. Sorry about the delay. I know I got a lot of messages last week about pushing this out. It just timing didn't work out, but I'm super grateful to have Tom on. Tom, welcome to the channel.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. I stopped by some of your streams a few times,
Yeah.
as you acknowledged me, so I actually have proof that I do watch your shit. So it's a
Tom,
pleasure for me to come on.
yeah, Tom usually I've seen you stop by on the earnings call streams, and those are like mega long, usually 3+ kind of hours is kind of how long we go for. But kind of wild days in Tesla land, sitting here at 1,042 bucks as we sit here on Tesla. It seems like just yesterday we hit 1,200 for the first time. I thought we'd keep the stream a little bit cash, consider how kind of the market's going. I know that you had a new Tesla video out. Encourage everyone to go on Tom's channel and check that out and watch it there. But Tom, general highlights, general thoughts about the price action that we're seeing and kind of the yo-yo market we're sitting with all the Fed stuff that's going on.
Yeah, it's a really great stock to day trade and swing trade right now.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just super attractive because of the volatility it offers in the past like few days. It's just so easy to make money if you're a day trader right now on Tesla, bro.
Oh yeah.
It just dances between 1,000 and 1,200,
The
and you
problem
can just fucking write it up, write it down, write it up, write it. So that's why it's swinging right now.
But the problem is, right? Like what we saw a couple
I
weeks
don't do it,
ago.
by the way.
You don't. Yeah. You just buy and
I don't
hold,
do
right?
it. No, I can't be bothered. I was up today like a lot. I was like, should I get out? I know it's gonna come down. I was like, I don't want to fucking deal with the energy of fucking looking for the re-entry point. I was like, fuck it, I'll just watch Netflix, bro. It's just boring. It's boring. Day trading is boring to me, bro. I can't waste energy on this fucking because if I wouldn't got out and then I have to figure out, okay, how much is it short-term capital gains or not? I mean, well, then I have to fucking. There's a lot more concerns that I'll just fucking leave it in, bro. I know it's gonna come down then back up, and
Yeah.
I just don't deal with the emotional stress of.
No,
I
there's
don't day trade at all.
absolutely, and there's definitely a cost to that, right? Of having to watch the markets and go through everything. But general thoughts. Obviously, I saw your video today about earnings and kind of how Tesla killed it, right? Quarter four,
Yeah,
308,000. That's just nuts, right? And Wall Street was
it's
at
a
275.
1.2 million pace, like I said today. Yeah,
No,
it's crazy.
it's
There,
it's crazy. No one on Wall Street is baking that in, which I guess is kind of alpha if you consider long enough.
look at the comment section of my videos. There's like 50% of Yahoos who's still fucking beating the same fucking drum, bro. It's like it's so funny to me to see it. They don't understand that they're the ones who are still allowing us to make a little bit more money on Tesla because they're so trapped in their little fucking bubble. It's just amusing to me. So they'll quote stuff like, "Oh, how many cars Toyota or whatever sold?" I was like, I can't say the word, but like a neighbor, like what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like it's not the correct metric to look at this, and it's this whole narrative that's basically, oh, Tesla is just like a fraction of the global auto industry. Well, that's the whole reason that you guys missed out on the first wave because you looked at people. I guess the main mistake of I divided into two groups. There's the like bona fide analysts who think Tesla is trash, and I respect that, even though I don't agree with them. And there's I think they're the jealous ones. They missed out and they're fucking pissed. And they have this cognitive dissonance they need to solve. And they solve it by basically saying, well, this is a scam, this is a Theranos, this is whatever. So those I don't respect. They can, suck my garage. But for the first half, the analysts who are legitimately thinking this is a bad stock, I think the problem is that they're looking at this they're trying to look at it as a because they're used to looking at auto industry companies as a value stock. So their entire comparables are off. They're comparing it to the Toyotas, the GMs, the Fords, the whatevers, and not to the CrowdStrikes, the Snowflakes, the Palantirs, and whatever. So this is a tech company, and as such should be valued as a tech company. So if you look at it in the perspective of a tech company, it actually is fairly valued. So I think they're trapped still inability to process the fact that this is a car company that should be valued as a tech company. They can't stomach that thought because it goes against everything they've ever been taught.
how much do you think that, and maybe, and this is such a psychological question, but how much of that do you think has to do with this, with the absolute value of the stock price? When you look at ticker symbol for like Ford's ticker, look at GM, those are valued under $100. Lucid, Rivian,
Yeah.
strategically even, right? And I think when CNBC pulls up, all these tickers of all these auto companies all together, there's an immediate glancing towards just the absolute value without any knowledge for the layperson, let's say, that doesn't know about investing at the market cap. Do you think that has anything to do with the perception of Tesla to the average lay investor that you talk to?
You mean from the you think that they're saying that because they think that that's what people want to hear, so to speak?
Well, not the analysts. Analysts would know the market cap and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But, the average investor or the average person that's in the stock
Oh,
market
okay,
that
yeah.
considers Tesla expensive,
Yeah.
and there's all these theories about splits going on at the moment with Tesla stock.
Irrelevant. Who gives a fuck? By the way, there's somebody saying, Kevin Visser saying Tom Nash doesn't sound Russian at all. Ты чё, охуел, чувак, бля?
I'm kind of Switzerland in this. I have no idea what's happening.
No, bro. I just told him something polite in Russian.
Okay.
I told him to kiss his grandma.
Oh, God. I'm already starting wars with the chat. All right.
No, I like shout out to Kevin. Kevin is my dude, bro.
All right.
Somebody says in Russian, Zhestka. Zhestka means savage.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to get some learning lessons later.
Yeah.
But okay.
So basically, I think you're right, because I think, like, look, people that are like tourists in the stock market that join kind of in the COVID time, they look at it in a very simplistic manner. Oh, it shot up parabolically. It must come down. It must be overvalued. So that's kind of this trap they're in, because like it went up 2,000% in 2 years.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it must be overvalued. It must be. No, neighbor. Can say on stream, because like it's been flat for, like, look at the chart. It's been flat for years, even though it outperformed and beat expectations and completely went ballistic. So it's the parabolic like jump it had, it just kind of catching up with the company.
Right.
But when they see it, they freak out. Oh, I'm not getting in it. It's like the same people. Like I had some smart people, bro. I had one of the smartest people I know. He's a guy. I can't tell you who. Very big guy. I know him because we met through the Nikola story. He was shorting Nikola. But he was shorting Nikola like in the 9 figures, bro.
Oh wow,
big time, dude. Yeah, big time, dude. And we developed a friendship, and because he liked my Nikola videos, I was taking a shit at them.
Right.
And we were talking about potentially like pitching a Netflix series, and he had the connections and whatever. But eventually we didn't do it. But we became good friends. And he was telling me, sell your Tesla stock, because I was in it. My cost base was 200 pre-split, and like Nikola, you remember when Nikola started, how much Tesla was already writing up. Like, you gotta sell at least like half. I said nope, and he's like a legitimately smart guy. So because Tesla defies all of these traditional valuation metrics, they just don't know how to deal with it. Look at Gordon's history. Like Gordon Johnson used to be like the number 3 or 4 ranked analyst on TipRanks, bro.
Wow, I didn't know that actually.
Like, no, it's insane. It used to be really good.
Okay.
And Tesla just flipped everything.
Right.
It just created this. Certain people adjusted, like Adam Jonas.
Yeah.
Morgan Stanley.
Well, he's known for that really wide price targets, right? Like,
yeah, but he adjusted. He wasn't always like he's not like Dan Ives, who's always like, everybody adjusted. No, okay, we fucked up. We're sorry. Okay, I think Gordon just stuck around because of his ego, I think. But now he's trapped in this character because that's the only way he gets exposure. They bring him on because nobody else would come and show his face and say those things about Tesla. I mean, as far as credibility goes. So he's trapped in that.
And what do you think about the headlines today about it just seems like rehashing of the headlines after every now and then, like every couple of months we'll hear the same headlines with the Cybertruck and
yeah, that's nonsense.
Yeah, like that stuff is old, right? And everyone kind of knew that it was going to be pushed a little
bit. He literally said this multiple times going back a few months ago. October, September, every time they asked him, like it's nothing new. but they make it sound as if it's some breaking news.
Yeah.
Tesla delay,
They might have changed it.
nobody.
They might have changed something on the website, but I think someone's got their alert set to read every single word that changes, right?
No, it's also just seeking alpha. They're very. If you want to really get exposure to like good Tesla haters, go on seeking alpha, bro. Their comment section there to any Tesla article is just vicious, bro. Like it's where the Tesla Q crowd hangs out.
Gotcha.
I swear, I kid you not, bro. I go to the comment section sometimes just to have a laugh because they all just sit around there like oh yeah, we hate Tesla so much, we hate it. I had this guy on the. I was my friend Coffeezilla.
Yeah.
So Coffeezilla is taking a. He's actually my friend. His name is Steven. He's a friend of mine. We started off together. He's taking a break, and I'm replacing him on this podcast with Amish.
Okay.
The drip, and I was on the drip like 2 days ago on Monday. Sorry, on Monday, and we were doing the drip. I was replacing Steven, and we had a guy call in, and he's like, "Oh, I hate Elon Musk." And I was like, I'm not gonna be angry. And I was like, okay, can you explain to me why you hate the guy? Can you elaborate? And then he couldn't really give me any good reasons. He was like, basically, yeah, he talks about AI where he doesn't understand nothing about AI. I was like, my guy, like, can we talk about Tesla and SpaceX? I mean, I don't care about what he says about, like, yeah, those are great companies. I said, okay, so I was like, yeah, and I stutter. So basically, it came down to I don't like him personally.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then so you can see from the chat, everybody, he wouldn't admit it, but the chat was basically, and I did it with kindness. I wasn't attacking. I wasn't trying. I said, okay, can you give me some examples beyond like AI stuff? What is he doing? That's because he's like, he is creating this messiah complex around himself. I was like, can you tell me how he's doing it? It's like, no, it's not him. It's the people around. It's like, okay, so you're blaming him for certain people like idolizing him.
Right.
I said, and he's like, oh, he's posting shit on Twitter that promote that. I said, can you give me an example? All I see is fucking memes and jokes on Twitter.
There's definitely a degree of like personal vendetta against Elon, right? I can't say it's not like we don't know where it stems from. Whenever you're shooting for anything high in life, like you're really aiming for like these outlandish goals, it's hard to hit on every single one of those goals, and inevitably when you miss on something, people are easy to jump on that, right?
Yeah.
But really, I mean, at the end of the day, I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. Is like Elon is what makes Tesla Tesla. There wouldn't be anything like Tesla, SpaceX without Elon, and the fact that he has his hands in everything. Yes, he's the risk, right? We talk about keyman risk on the channel every now and then of like, okay, what are the risks that are involved? Yeah. That for sure, keyman risk is definitely a risk.
That's huge,
but it comes with also the yin to the yang, right? It also comes with the upside of having someone like Elon push this mission. So. With keyman risk, actually, I was going to ask you this later, but I'll ask you now. Do you think Elon continues, or how do you think Elon, does he have an exit plan in the next 5 years? There's been a lot of discussion on this. Does he move full time into SpaceX? Do you think he keeps into Tesla as Tesla expands and grows from Austin and Berlin to plus the factory after that? How do you kind of see that happening?
Not in the next 2 years.
Okay.
But eventually, definitely. For two reasons. So Tesla is maturing. SpaceX is where he's needed as far as the way he analyzes it. So in 2 years, Tesla is doing 3 million vehicles a year. It's kind of like a given at this point, right? So in 2 years, it's a 3 million vehicle a year company. It's already established. It's a cash flow is insane. No debt, great brand. So you need like a seasoned CEO, and he has one already. I know who's going to replace him, bro.
Okay, let's hear it.
You want to guess? I'll tell you who's going to replace him.
Well,
you can replay this in 2 years.
I'm going to guess you're going to say either Zach or Drew.
Neither.
Okay, let's hear it.
He's going to bring Herbert Diess.
You think so?
Take over, bro. Yes.
Okay, let's hear your thesis.
Okay, so Herbert Diess got screwed. I was about to say got fucked. We can't say got fucked. So got screwed by the VW board, bro, right? He was about to catch up with him, or at least like make a play, give Tesla a little bit of a run for its money. So Herbert Diess got cockblocked by his own board, and he's fuming about this to this day. Even despite his board, he still managed to drag that failure of a company out of the hole that they were in into pretty much the second position as far as EVs, like globally. If you're talking about VW, they're the next closest conglomerate that's as far as like advancement and investment in the EV industry, infrastructure testing, whatnot. So they're the closest thing to Tesla in this. Like that's not a startup, right? Like an OEM as far as a group. In fact, like look at what's going on, like Porsche going full electric, and like the group is really like he's done it despite his own board fighting against him. So Elon likes Herbert. Herbert likes Elon. We know that he's a fucking stud, and he has the experience in big auto, and he knows the EV industry. Imagine like what a win-win situation it is for Elon. A guy he likes and trusts. They have a relationship. And for Herbert to come on to a company where nobody will tell him what to do. He'll get full. The only guy he has to answer to is Elon, and they pretty much agree on everything. So no more fucking pesky board or fucking shareholders or all the diseases of a old ass OEM. And I think he's just waiting for Elon's phone call, bro.
Well,
that's why he invited him to the like all this bromance that happened between them. It's not. Nobody like these sharks, they don't do jack shit for nothing, bro. Like why do you think he invited him on to speak, to humiliate his own fucking executives, bro?
Well, a couple of years ago, by the way, the chat saying Tom is swearing so much. Yeah, folks, this is not me. I don't swear. You guys know that. But that's just Tom. You gotta respect who he is.
I can't control it, bro.
But
if you hate me for this, you hate me for this, bro.
But to your point, a couple of years ago, like Elon, what was it? Elon had actually tried to hire him at 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
he did.
I mean, totally could be in the cards for sure. But wasn't that there was a report out that there was that he might have been being pushed out of the board or being pushed out of Volkswagen just a month ago. So I guess there's some spicy rumors there, and maybe we can come back to this. Maybe you're right in a couple of years. And
it's all about ego, bro. Like when you get to these levels, it's like the same example. You remember when I don't know, do you watch football at all?
A little bit.
Okay, so you remember when Jim Harbaugh was the coach of the 49ers and he took him to the Super Bowl against his own brother?
So you think that's
and the lights went out? No. I'm saying like he got pushed. He took over a team. The 49ers when Harbaugh took over was one of the worst teams in the league. Took over within a couple of years. They're playing in the Super Bowl, whatnot, right? Great job. But he's still getting pushed out and did eventually got pushed out by the owners because they couldn't get along. So Herbert, this is a very similar story. He called them on their bullshit. They were wrong. He was right. And even though now it's paying off, they hate him for it because they hate the ego is everything, bro, with these guys. So that's why he's getting pushed out. That's like when you get to these levels, it's all about like you have like these are like really, really, really like heavy alpha males, bro. So they can't admit being wrong that much. It's not gonna happen. So they're gonna push him up eventually.
But but I don't see Tesla as just an auto company. I saw this comment as well. I was thinking the same thing. Dees has a lot of experience.
Look, there's somebody in the comments. Who's this guy swearing doesn't speak English properly? Racist much, motherfucker?
Okay.
Fuck you, bro.
Oh my God.
All right, don't give a shit about my accent, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck yourself.
Okay. But okay, Tesla's not a car company solely though, right? So you would
No, they're definitely not.
Right. So then how do you justify that someone coming in that might not know everything about energy or battery packs and all this stuff?
Good question. He'll have to have to break it apart. So if he wants to do it, for sure, he'll have to build a structure where the entire auto section is under Herbert, and he'll have to he'll have to raise up areas that are able to take over the energy business. Somebody will have to take. It's a completely different business. Maybe he even stays on that.
Interesting.
Maybe he even stays on that because it's such a completely different business. Although, I mean, bro, to be honest, if you can be the CEO of VW, I think you can handle like learning like the the business as well. It's like he's a super uber smart guy, bro.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you
yeah.
either
Yeah.
give him some time and you rope him in, or you bring him in, or you basically kind of you spin off the energy business. Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot
Right.
of different options you can do here.
Oh yeah. I mean, you simply cannot. You have to be smart to be in his position. Like, there's no way he's at all. Not a smart guy for sure. Now let's talk about China a little bit. And I've been getting some
Yeah.
comments about Tesla in China, and I don't really. I think I'm trying to grapple with this issue a little bit about, first of all, we don't have to talk too much about Omicron and all the shutdowns. That's definitely something I've been thinking about with the shutdowns. And is that something that could play as a headwind moving into, let's say, this next couple, like, some month or two until the Olympics are over? How do you see China long term as well? Tesla's obviously killing it in China. Apple, just like how Apple killed it in China. There's
Yeah.
only a select few
Yeah.
companies that can. Obviously, China likes Tesla. How do you see that relationship moving forward? How do you see that as a risk or an opportunity in the next couple of years?
It's a great question. That's why I watch your stuff. You always approach things intelligently with zero hype.
Thank you.
Very good question. So I have a theory about this. So my opinions about the Chinese Communist Party. I think Chinese companies are uninvestable for many reasons, and I've been very consistent about it, unlike Kramer, who flipped like a winner schnitzel, bro. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Yeah, he went
Yeah,
viral.
he flipped. Ooh. So, however, so you would think that, well, Tom, you're a hypocrite then. Like, Tesla is heavy into China, right? So
Right.
you're a hypocrite. Well, not exactly. Think about it this way. There's a huge difference between investing in a Chinese company and having production facilities in China and having Chinese clients. So the reason that's entirely inherently different, it's two reasons. Number one, if you're just talking about it from a completely risk evaluation perspective, different risk factors getting involved when you use a Chinese production facility and you have Chinese clients. Obviously, you can get kicked out at any time. That's China,
Yeah,
which is a huge risk
for
sure. But I think it's a minuscule risk because of what Tesla is and what Tesla isn't. You have to understand that Tesla is not a threat to the Chinese Communist Party. However, when a company gets too big, a Chinese company gets too big, like an Alibaba or a Didi or an Evergrande, they see what happened in the US when Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft basically became too big for the government to regulate. And they fear loss of control. That's why they bash these companies, because they don't want to let any one of those companies get too big for their own good. So the threat, what the Chinese Communist Party perceives as a threat, is anything that may undermine their own ability to control the country. So that's why I think the way they regulate their own companies is very inconsistent, because the only principle it follows is, okay, how do we don't care if we bankrupt this company, as long as we, what they did to Didi, they literally destroyed this company for no reason. What they did to Alibaba, again, it's a $300 stock if it's not in China, easy. However, it's not a threat to the CCP that a foreign company has a factory in China. Sure, they can bash it, but even then, let's say that China goes berserk and for literally no reason decides to shut down or nationalize that plant. Not to mention, what would they do with the nationalized Tesla plant? I don't know, but whatever. Let's say they do something like that. Let's say that you can't sell in China anymore. Obviously, it's detrimental to Tesla, but as far as production capacity, that's why he's building more factories to diversify. That's why we have now Fremont and Austin and Berlin. And I'm assuming his flirtatious relationship with Russia is just as a contingency plan if something happens.
Right.
Because Russia is a whole new untapped market as far as production facilities and potential clientele. A lot of money there right now. So I think he's aware of this risk, and he's playing the game basically to kind of let them know, hey, I'm not getting in your way. Don't get into my way. I'll provide you all of these jobs, because it's it's kind of a mutual relationship where it works. I think I would be lying to you if I told you there's zero risk with this, but I can live with production facilities located in problematic geographies risks.
Right.
So I don't see a huge issue there.
It's just kind of the name of the game, right? Like when you do business in China, you just kind of have to go by what they say, and hopefully you're in their good books is kind of the way to play it. The reason why I ask is because China is such a heavy hitter in electric vehicles, and they're, in my opinion, leading the way globally to adopt EVs in their country. I think they have the highest penetration of, well, maybe outside of like Norway or something, right? Like one of these European countries. But like to the scale that I see them going to, I just think North America is a bit of a laggard in EV adoption at the moment. So I guess you're right. I guess the same way kind of Apple has to mitigate the risk and continue to kind of be a little bit on, let's say on the fence on try to be Switzerland in the case, right? Because I mean, Elon doesn't have a great standing relationship with American politicians as it stands either. So yeah, it's kind of a weird ground that we're in.
American politicians are using him, to be honest. He's the boogeyman for them to use.
Yeah, I mean, who names someone who's paid more tax last year than Elon, right? For example.
Ever.
Yeah. So
it's the single biggest tax bill in the history of the Internal Revenue Service.
For sure. Yeah.
Nobody has ever paid $13 billion a year, bro.
I wonder what they're going to do with that money. That's the question. Let's talk about macro.
It's actually this money is probably one of the best inflation counter inflation measures that you can take. Like I talked about it extensively, but increasing tax revenue is the most effective way to battle inflation. Because when you increase GDP, you increase tax revenue, you decrease the amount of money printing, money supply. And so taxing effectively, increasing collections is something that the US has to seriously target as one of the to-do things in 2022, 2023.
For sure. Absolutely.
But they're going about it in the wrong way.
Oh,
you can't do it by increasing taxes.
For sure. That's
the trick.
Yeah.
That's the trick.
I mean, yeah, that's a short term. It looks good short term, but yeah, long term, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Just ask Leifer, bro.
Yeah,
the Laffer curve.
Yeah, for sure.
The Laffer curve is all you need to look at.
For sure.
It's otherwise. Look, people don't understand it, but we talk about inflation in our own little perspective. When we look at inflation, we say, "Oh, how does it affect our stock?" And it affects our stock, but inflation is a much bigger problem. As far as like, if you live in America and you care, inflation, unlike what certain people are telling you, is a tax on the poor.
Oh yeah,
it's on the heavy tax on the poor. Because think about it this way:
it is.
If inflation is the increase of prices, so if the prices increase, which means that you're paying more, somebody's getting more. It's a zero-sum game. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm paying more for everything, there's a counterparty to this transaction that's getting more. And as we go down the supply chain, so I'm the end customer, so I'm paying more. And then there's a lot of people in the middle who buy goods, make products and services, and sell them, right? So everybody's in this chain getting screwed. But the more you go higher up the chain, the less you're getting screwed. And the only ones who are not getting screwed and are profiting from inflation are the ones who are holding the raw materials of production, which is capital, banks, land, which is the richest people in the world, and energy. If you're in energy, banking, and real estate, inflation is a bonanza. But if you're a bus driver, a school teacher, or bartender, or a gardener, that's it's a tax. It's a soul crushing event, bro.
Absolutely, for sure, 100%. And that's why, yeah, exactly. And that's why if you're really leveraged, if you have a lot of debt, obviously inflation helps you there as well, because the cost of your debt is lowering over time as well. Let's talk about rate hikes and tapering. You have Jay Powell in the back. Obviously,
no, it's Buffett.
Oh, is it Buffett? Oh, I can't even tell.
It says I didn't say any of this.
It is Buffett. Oh,
Warren Buffett.
It's just so small. I can't tell. I just assumed.
Yeah.
I just assumed with
No,
everything
no,
that's going on. And you get the
it's my
Cybertruck too.
my
Yeah,
idol, but this is the quote, which I'm sure he did say. I didn't say any of this shit.
yeah, I
Warren
know.
Buffett.
Yeah, that's gotta be real. Let's talk
And
about
also on this side, I have, you know what this is? It's a Russian joke.
what is
It's
it?
actually the Cybertruck, but it's converted to it's Lenin inside in his mausoleum,
Oh
and
my,
it says here Lenin.
oh my God. You're edgy. You're edgy.
You ever seen the mausoleum in Moscow?
Yes. Yeah.
You've been in there?
No. Oh no, I've never been. No, I've never been to Europe.
It's creepy. It's creepy, bro.
No.
I've been there once as a kid with my grandma. It's creepy. You wait for hours and hours and hours, and you walk by for like 30 seconds, not even, and then it's over, and it's creepy as fuck.
Um.
Oof.
Yeah. So I saw a comment. Someone said we're the polar opposites on Tesla YouTube. So I found found that hilarious.
What does he mean by that? As far as like you're the serious guy and I'm kind of the
No, I just think I just think you're a lot more edgier than I am. That's all.
I just look at macro stuff. Like, so I tend to weed out a lot of the bullshit. So I'm thinking about Tesla as a 5-year play.
Mm.
That's why I don't give a fuck when people talk about Palantir. Oh, you got screwed on Palantir. Well, maybe let's talk in 5 years and find out if I did or I didn't. When I look at things, I always look in 5-year increments. So Tesla has problems for sure. QC should get better for sure. Will they be a dominant force that's going to take over the industry and take everybody's lunch? For sure. Okay, so if it's currently priced at about like the 5th or 4th biggest company in the world, and right now as it stands, so what needs to happen for them to go to number 3 or number 2?
Mm.
And is it more likely than not that it will happen in the next 2 years?
Mm.
Yes, simple. Plus, it's the most inflation-proof stock in the market, which people just refuse to understand, which is just amusing to me.
Yeah.
So why not buy more now?
They can raise prices, and the market is easily going to want to pay that, as you know, it's just unlimited demand right now for Tesla. Obviously, when we talk in 2030, maybe a different scenario, but even then, like, yeah. So yeah, totally agree. And actually, I'm not sure if you've seen
prices plus also like the capacity stuff. Like, think about pricing, unlimited demand, almost hardline demand. The capacity increases of they can triple their production capacity without spending a single dollar because it's already pre-spent on cheap lent money, no debt, free cash flow up the wazoo. It's just basically every box is checked. It's a freaking inflation tank.
Love it.
It's gonna rip through this market.
And Gene Munster, actually, I'm not sure if you saw, he was on Dave Lee's podcast, and he said, you know, that same question that you just asked, or, you know, what would it take for Tesla to get to the number 1 in market cap? Dave was asking a timeline. And I think kind of the going consensus, I think, was like 2026 and beyond, or maybe it was Peter Farragut at 2026 and beyond. To me, that's just, it's unreal, really. That's only 4 years away. I know 4 years for a lot of people might seem like a long time, but it's really not. You just flash your eyes, 4 years is gone. So, you know, it's kind of like you're seeing this this huge boulder roll down the hill, and you think it's not going to hit you very fast, but really it's going super fast. Exponential growth is hard to analyze for the average person, right? And
think about it this way, Yashu.
Mm-hmm.
How much cars Tesla sold in 2019? 360,000. So with the added capacity from Austin and Berlin and China actually going to full capacity, so within the next 24 months, we're going to hit 3 million cars.
Yeah. Oh, run rate easy. Yeah.
Okay. So we just 10x or almost 10x, like 9x our production and deliveries within 1 plus 4. So 5 years. This is madness for a company that's already like a blue chip stock.
It's you know what it is though. And I was talking. I was hearing Dan Ives talk about this. He said the market is kind of in for Tesla. They don't really want to go out and just say, okay, whatever Tesla says is gospel. Whatever they say they're going to do, let's price that in. It's kind of like an execution watching play. They want to see them execute, and they are executing. But with exponential growth, at a certain point, if you're always going to be chasing this thing, you know, if you're an analyst and it's exponentially growing, you have to either get ahead of it, or you have to, really, that's all you can do. You either have to get ahead of it or get out of it, kind of. Yes, there are risks, right? Tesla, who knows what can happen with Tesla's factories? Maybe they don't scale the way that we do.
Yep.
But those
And there's
are
executional risks always.
always, and especially when you're talking about something like 4680 battery cells and the new chemistry that they want to release, or the new structural battery pack. Tom, I think your webcam went out.
Okay, hold on.
All good. But of course, there's executional risk. We're just going to have to. I think that's what differentiates kind of the Tesla bulls from the non-Tesla bulls, is who believes in the execution of Elon and Tesla. By the way, I still can't
Hold on,
see
I'm
you.
trying.
Okay.
I'm trying. Classic Murphy's Law, bro. Hold on.
Everything that can.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but it's only a Zoom problem, just so you know. It's only happening in Zoom. So I want to play you a little clip without the audio, because the audio is going to be, you're going to get, if we haven't been demonetized, this is going to be like a community strike. It's a video. Maybe let me. Okay. So we can are we demonetized already? Can we play this clip?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so there's this very famous clip. I'll share the screen with you. We won't play the audio.
I hope this works. I'm on OBS, so I'm not sure if my screen can pull up your screen, but let's see.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
No, I can't.
You cannot?
No. Can't see
it. So I'll just talk my way through it.
Okay.
So basically, there's a very famous clip of a lion standing in front of like a stampede of these wildebeests or buffaloes. I don't know what they are. And they're just running across, and he's just waiting for the perfect chance to pounce on the right one. And they're going by, and they're going by, and they're going by, and he's waiting for the perfect chance, and then they're gone.
Right.
And then just before they're gone, another lion just swoops in behind him and just grabs the last one and runs away with it. So that's a classic example of, I just want to show this to people. That's all the people who are saying, oh, Tesla's too expensive. Yeah. No problem. Wait. Just wait for the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I'm kind of the belief that like I have no reason to convince anyone to buy or sell anything. Like you don't have to believe in Tesla. That's totally fine. I don't care. I just think what we're seeing unfolding is a huge growth story that in retrospect is going to be so obvious to everyone looking back. And I think a lot of, let's say, the misinformation, kind of the FUD headlines out there feed into this, but that only to me, like you kind of saw it with Apple back in the day as well. Like, why is Apple worth this much? You know, their market share is not that high. Like it really reminds me of that story. But I think it's bigger than that, because I think transportation, well, I mean, this is debatable, but you know, I think transportation might be obviously for the world at more of an energy level bigger. But obviously smartphones have changed our lives as well. Like look at what we're doing right now. We wouldn't be able to do this unless it was for something like the iPhone that made technology like this more feasible. So yeah, interesting times ahead, and earnings as just, you know, like you look at the price now of Tesla. We're at 1,031 we closed at. From where we were when delivery numbers came out, nothing fundamentally has changed, right? At least that I know of. And like here we are sitting at $1,031 with what might be, it's going to be record earnings, revenue, profit.
18 billion.
Is that your projection? 18 billion?
Yeah, they'll do 18, bro.
And what's your projection on, let's say, operating income on that?
I have a whole spreadsheet about this.
Okay.
I don't remember by heart.
Do you want to pitch it on your? You want to pitch your video?
It's not out yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm working, but they'll do 18. I think their margin is like a 26 or 25 EBITDA margin.
Craziness.
Don't really care about OM. I look at EBITDA and I look at net. Those are the two that I'm focused on. So they'll do the 25, or I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe EBITDA is not gonna be much better than Q3, but it's not a concern because of they're battling supply chains. So like the talent deal that just scored. Yeah, nobody's asking about the price. Everybody's just happy they just scored 75,000 tons of nickel.
Absolutely.
So it's eating into the margins, but they're the only ones who are not affected by supply chain woes. Or at the very least, slightly affected.
They are, but they can offset.
So probably like what the EBITDA would be 25. Yeah, it's just, you know, they're basically a well-oiled machine. It's just more revenue at the same level of profitability, maybe slightly better. In the normal supply chain environment, this would have been probably a 28% EBITDA quarter for them.
Crazy.
But because of the supply chain issues and everything's becoming more expensive, yeah. I think it's going to have, like you mentioned earlier, they're going to have record-breaking quarter. However, I'm just aware of what's going to happen around that day. You know what's going to happen. Like,
Right.
there's
Jay
going to be a
Powell?
big dump. No, but there's going to be a big dump because like Jay Powell is. We'll talk about him in a second. So, record-breaking performance and Tesla's shares have no correlation around the earnings date. I don't know if you noticed this. They behave completely like correlation is zero, not even -1. You can expect it. Some quarters but with this market, I think people are looking for an opportunity to capitalize. So if we'll see a spike before earnings, there's going to be a big dump after.
Okay. And if we don't,
however, if we don't see a big spike before earnings, then it's gonna basically spike after.
gotcha.
And then you won't see the dump. So I don't care. I just look at it like sports. I don't play that game at all. It's just the question is what will happen in the next 30 days after earnings once the whole dust settles. You know it's going up because the numbers are going to be insane.
Yeah. And supply chain issues are getting better as well in February, March of this year.
Yeah.
I know January was a doozy, right? Because of everyone being in quarantine and all this stuff. But at least that's what people on Wall Street are saying is February, March, is they're looking at a lot of easing of supply chain issues.
The problem with supply chain issues is that unless the world decides that COVID is an endemic and nobody should quarantine anymore, supply chain issues will continue because it causes massive delays. So with Omicron, right, every time somebody gets diagnosed or whatever is confirmed, so there's a chain of clusterfuckness where people have to stay home for like a week, 10 days, 14 days, whatever. And with the, it's like the Omicron, right, it's less lethal, they say, but much more infectious, right? So a lot more workers are now basically getting shut down for a week, 10 days, and just spreads exponentially.
Absolutely.
So I think the effects of the Omicron quarantines are going to be really felt in Q1 until it just runs through the population.
Yep. Absolutely.
But it's still like, even if that's just one aspect of it. As far as semiconductors, you still have another like good 6 months until they catch up. That's the best case scenario. So I think 2022 is still going to be very impacted by irregularities in the supply chain.
But by all accounts, hopefully better than 2021, because 2021 was quite the doozy, especially in the middle of last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus, you had a ship that basically taught everybody that we have like one corridor through which every single crate in the world goes through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It got stuck there.
Debacle.
The Suez Canal.
That was crazy.
Like people in fucking Montana who's never heard of a Suez Canal is now fucking, it's crazy, bro. It's like, who knew like how easy it is to clog up the world supply chain by putting a little cork in the narrowest point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it was the perfect thing that they could, and that could happen, honestly. I'd love to get wrapping up, I'd love to get your thoughts on,
when the CoffeeZilla did his video about Evergrande collapse.
Oh yeah.
He made one of the most brilliant jokes. I wish I could steal this from him. He said, well, I initially started researching about Evergrande. I thought it's the ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal, but then I realized it wasn't. And then I realized I know nothing about economics. So it's like his jokes are like on point. I was like, oh, this was brilliant.
Absolutely.
As a YouTuber, you appreciate that sort of humor. It's like,
yeah, he got it. Honestly,
he got it, bro. 10 out of 10.
So wrapping up, I've gotten a lot of questions about PLTR. I never talk about Palantir really on the channel because I know what I don't know. And a lot of people ask about you and Palantir and your thoughts about it. Long-term, obviously, we don't care about a short-term thesis at all, but let's talk about long-term overall thoughts about it, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity. Right now, I think that you saw ARK buy in at about bought in 2 more million shares over the first 2 weeks of January.
Mm.
So she bought back 2 million after selling 1.7 million before
Mm.
for the new funds that she started up. So I think that Palantir is one of the most interesting test cases for the way our economy is shaping up.
Mm.
So, and I'll tell you what I think Palantir's biggest risk is, which I think everybody is missing. So, I think everybody agrees that Palantir is extremely efficient at organizing and making sense of big chunks of unrelated data. That's the greatest strength. They'll come into an organization, they'll take data points that completely don't communicate with each other on any level. And I'll give you an example if you want how it works.
Yeah.
And then they make a decision-making mechanism out of it because they managed to create a system where all of these data points actually communicate. So a good example would be like what they're doing with. So they have two products. One for the people who are not familiar, because I know you're not like a Palantir channel.
Mm-hmm.
If this was Jackson, we wouldn't do this conversation. But I mean, just for your audience. So basically, Palantir has two flagship products. They have one more that it's not that important. So Foundry and Gotham. Gotham is the older product. It's been around for many, many, many years. It's the government side of the business, which nobody knows nothing really about. But it's ancient and it's been there pretty much since they founded the company 17 years ago, whatnot. There's a whole new business, which is basically why Palantir went public and why Palantir came out of of the whole area of where they used to be like just a government contractor, which is called Foundry. About 6 years ago, they started working on this derivative that was birthed by this government system. And basically, hey, we can really take the system and we can use it in the commercial sector with the applicable adjustments, obviously. And we can make a lot of money for a lot of companies. And the first company they started partnering with to build a foundry was Airbus.
Mm.
Because the system is industry agnostic. You can put it in any industry. In fact,
Right.
if you look at their client list, it's across 40 something industries. But when you're talking about large scale industries like the airline business, it needed to be a little bit more structured. So they partnered with Airbus to build a foundry for airlines. It's called Skywise.
Hmm.
And that was 6 years ago. And initially, just the way it was built, it was initially just Airbus used this in their own business. And what they saw is they basically cut the production time and on the Airbus A350, I think, by 33%.
Hmm.
And I have the data to back it up. I think I showed it on my channel.
Yeah.
So you have to understand this is Airbus. This isn't some mom and pop show.
Hmm.
There's like millions of assembly points from tens of countries around the world with subcontractors and a lot of moving parts and a lot of brilliant people who built a supply chain and a logistical chain and a production chain, which Palantir came in and with a completely brand new product with no track record, no experience. They just cut costs by 33% or time, I don't remember, or maybe both. But it was dramatic. It was dramatic enough for basically Airbus telling them, hey, this shit works. So why don't we just give Palantir to every single customer we sell a plane to for free? Because that's how we're going to create an edge over Boeing. And we'll pay you. Obviously, we'll become your resellers of your software and we'll just market it. There's going to be like an edge. So basically, it started off as an internal Airbus thing. It now evolved into this whole ecosystem where you have fucking Boeing airplanes that are on the Skyway system, because each airline and the suppliers of that airline and the subcontractors of that airline, everybody that has to do with the plane that's being purchased from Airbus is now on Palantir, and Airbus is paying for this because it makes them more money and makes the flight safer, and basically everybody wins. So we have people who build nuts and bolts for an airline that are now basically using Palantir as a client.
Hmm.
So anyways, so how does the system work? I wish I could share screen. I don't know why it doesn't let me. So I have a presentation from Airbus about this. Essentially, they'll take data from anywhere. So every flight has at minimum 2 million data points that's created on that flight, just on the airplane itself. Plus, you have scheduling data when the plane took off, landing, delays, whatever, next flights for the week, blah, blah, blah. Then you have warehouse data, minimum quantity of components, maximum quantity of components, inventories, expiration dates coming up, or blah, blah. You have to ERP systems, right? Then you have, on top of that, you have also maintenance. There's maintenance records. What did you do on this plane? Blah, 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 blah. So basically, what they came up with, so all of these used to be completely separate. Each system works independently. So basically, Palantir comes in and they basically say, we'll put it all in one system. All of this siloed information, we'll put it in one system and we'll make you money. How? Well, very simple. For example, when the system plugs into the maintenance records, they can tell you, hey, if you replace this little bolt right here based on previous information that we have on this plane, you're going to prevent a massive overhaul of the engine. So you can do like a $2,000 1.5 hour fix, and you can prevent a $45,000 6-hour overhaul or whatever, 12-hour overhaul. And this is like actual data. I have it. If you want, I'll show you later. It's pretty exciting. So it's called preventative maintenance. So when airplane is in the air, and so the maintenance team already knows, hey, when this plane lands, the system told us, hey, we should replace this bolt and this nuts. And that's how we basically going to reduce AOGs. AOG for an airline is the worst thing. AOG means airplane under the ground. So especially with short haul airplanes like a 737, they're not supposed to be on the ground. Like every minute a 737 or the A320
inefficiency
is on the ground, it's cost they have to be it's like a bus. So AOGs, they reduce like insane amounts of percentages, reduced AOGs by preventative maintenance. But that's just one example. Safety, flight safety, they recognize, hey, whenever the oil temperature rises here, that means that it's indicative of this malfunction that might happen. And blah, blah, blah. Or for example, like, hey, you guys are burning too much fuel because of this. We're seeing that there's a spike that leads, so you have a leak there, just costing you money.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that. And just like this aggregate is just hundreds of millions of dollars of saved money,
right?
Which the company can see. The hardest thing about selling software, especially SaaS, especially like if you're talking about like stuff like that, is how do you show this in the balance sheet? How do you show the correlation? So with Palantir, you can see it. So Airbus released this whole book of test cases, which I have, and then you can see every single test. It's painted. It's earmarked. So you can see exactly how much Skywise, which is basically Foundry, saved each airline in a single year. And the numbers are staggering. And then, so it's just one example of how it works. So add that to the fact that it thrives in times of uncertainty, which is where you need a Foundry the most. And it's very similar to Tesla in its inflation proofness. So I think it's a great play at any time. I mean, Warren Buffett once said, if you find a great company, don't look at the price, just buy as much of it as you can. That he actually did say. The other shit he didn't. But what's the biggest risk for Palantir? Now that I hyped the company up, right? So what's the biggest risk? So the biggest risk of Palantir, I think, is neither of the things that are being kind of hyped up right now by all of these buffoons on the internet and on TV. So we had Ross Gerber, completely like, I don't know what's going through his head. It's the worst company in the world, morally, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he understands the business model or how the company, basically the product even works, because he said things that they don't even collect data, bro. They'll take your data, they'll organize it for you so you can make better decisions for your business. It's not a data mining system. So he's like, so basically whatever, that's just total nonsense. So we have other concerns, which is, for example, there's a certain school of thought that says, well, Palantir is not really a software business, it's a consultancy business. Well, I have the data. Their onboarding process, and I have the documents, is within 6 weeks of onboarding, you go from your client, from your from the onboarding team leaves, and then you go to support. You basically become a user and just support. The only thing you get is support. So I don't know a lot of consultancy businesses where in 6 weeks they're basically done and they basically say, okay, so now you just go through support. If this was a consultancy business, you'd need a dedicated team to work on this shit every day. So the timeline is like 3 weeks to onboard, another 3 weeks to train, and then 6 weeks you have an account manager if you need any help. So it's a completely. If you look at the early interviews of Alex Karp from 2012, he specifically says we could have easily gave them like man hours. We didn't want to sell man hours to solve problems. We want to create an automated system to do that. It's essentially what they did with PayPal, what Peter Thiel did with PayPal. That's the whole idea was.
Right.
And then there's a lot of like stock-based comp, which is complete nonsense because it's literally what Elon did with his stocks. It's options that expired in December 2021. He had to exercise them and he had to pay billions in tax. He had to sell.
Right.
So it's 10B pre-scheduled sales, exactly like Elon's. So
gotcha.
All of this is nonsense. Where's the real risk for Palantir? There's this really good channel. You guys should check him out. His name is CyberFam. CyberFam, small channel, 1,000 subscribers. Bellissimo. Great Palantir content. And he talks about, he actually killed my video. I was working on the whole video and he made the video and it's like, if I do this now, they'll think I fucking plagiarized this guy because he hit every single point I was about to make. So now I'm not going to make the video. I'm just going to send people to his stuff. But basically he's talking about, I hate when this, I feel like the Beach Boys, when the fucking Beatles album came out and they basically, never mind. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, so basically he did a whole video explaining that risk and it's a phenomenal video. Essentially, the risk is that right now Palantir is competing in a free range. It's like a sandbox. Nobody's competing in Palantir at this thing where they have like their own full stop shop platform.
Okay.
There's ERPs, there's CRMs, there's AI, there's data. Nobody's doing what they're doing. So they literally have no competitors right now. There's nothing even close to it. So they're basically killing it because nobody's in the business yet. And the moat is quite large. You know, it took them, it's a 17-year project. It's going to be with billions and billions and billions of dollars of investment. So the competition can only come from one place. The competition can come from the guys who are the best at sitting on the sidelines, letting you do all the hard work, see that your shit works, and then come and take it from you, which is Microsoft. He killed it, bro. Microsoft have no play on this at all. But if they decide at some point that this is lucrative enough for them to jump in,
gotcha.
It's gonna be a bloodbath, bro.
Right.
Because they can put endless amounts of money on this.
Right.
They do have top line engineers, which they can throw at this at unlimited amounts. They can catch up pretty quickly. And they have no problem putting an inferior product into the market because of their ecosystem and because of their network effects. So basically, all the salespeople know all the CEOs. It's going to be very tough not to buy fucking Microsoft products when they'll come in and say, hey, we'll let you have this sort of Palantir knockoff for free.
Yeah,
right?
Loss leaders,
Yeah, loss leaders, credits. We'll give you like thousands of hours of support for free, credits, blah, 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 blah. So you understand what I'm saying?
Definitely
that's how they do. Like, it's like such a Microsoft move. If people go back, like Azure was non-existent, bro. Look at what's happening now in the market. Like Azure is like, so they're really good ever since Bill left, and it's this whole new management. It's basically they're like, what? We'll just let you fucking create the industry, and then we'll come in and swoop it from you. So Palantir has to be so much better than what Microsoft will put out, so that the managers of those companies will have to say, well, listen, we understand we have a relationship and you're offering a lot here, but if we don't use this other product, I'm going to lose my job because the other guys will kill us.
Gotcha.
Unless that happens, Palantir would not be able to compete with the Microsoft. That's why Palantir is spending obscene amount of stock-based comp to get the best employees in the market right now, because they know they're not idiots. They know that in 2 years, when Microsoft decides to jump in, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Right.
They need the best employees. And even if you get the employees now, what prevents Microsoft from poaching them in 2 years? The only thing is giving them a piece of the pie. Basically, hey, you're a partner now. That's why people say, "Oh, stock-based comp is so high." Mother lover. Sorry, you see, I'm not swearing. Just give them half of the company right now. Let's give them half. I don't care,
Push
and and then we compete. We go to war with these guys.
Gotcha.
So that's the. Now, the Cyberframe guy didn't talk about the stock-based comp part in his video, but he really did a good job of explaining how Microsoft operates. And I've seen this happen with clients I used to work with. I've seen Microsoft do this, bro.
Yeah,
he killed it. You should, if you're not and you care about Palantir stock, go check out his channel. It's fucking legit good channel.
and definitely check out Tom's as well, folks. Tom does a lot of good work on Palantir. I've watched some of your stuff. Don't have Palantir at the moment, but something I'm looking into.
Yeah, it's 16. It's attractive, but like we said earlier, a great company at any price is attractive. Tesla is attractive at any price,
right?
Because Nvidia is attractive at any price.
Thank you, Warren.
Yeah,
thank you, Warren, for that tweet.
I didn't say any of that shit.
Right on. Well, I took an hour and a half of your time. I appreciate your time, Tom, for coming on here and tuning in. And it's definitely been a fun time. It's very different. Just
somebody said you look sad and bored.
No, that's just my camera.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
If you go back and watch any of my other videos, you'll see how bored I look as well.
When I had I told you we were talking offline when I had Kevin on my channel. And somebody said something like this, like, "Oh, Kevin looks sad and bored." It's like, as a host, like it's a big responsibility, right? When you have a guy on your channel,
right?
It's like you have to navigate the chat and me and yourself and stay on top of things. It's a really tough job. People in the audience, like, they don't understand how tough it is to host. To be a guest, it's easy,
right?
Like to host, with all these moving parts, it's fucking difficult. Like when I do these, I'm exhausted after, bro. I'm done.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I usually don't go longer than like an hour and a half, but earnings usually I go for that marathon 3 hours stream if I can.
Yeah, you're an Iron Man, bro.
I have to do it. I have to, because you know what? That's what I would want. That's what I wanted before I had the channels. I wanted someone to cover, right, from like power hour into after earnings, into the report, into the earnings. So yeah, but I appreciate you coming on, Tom. It was a hilarious time with you. By far the funniest guest we've had on.
It always is, bro.
And
people think like people don't know this, but because my grandpa is featured in a lot of my videos, and he's like a heavy drinker. They assume I drink, bro. And like Tom is on bro, I'm the most sober guy. I drink tea.
Yeah.
I can show you. Look, it's tea, literally. I'm like such a fucking nerd. Like I hate alcohol, bro. That's like against my image. I can't say it. Like I literally hate booze, bro.
Love it.
I just don't like the feeling of losing clear-headedness.
Absolutely.
But because of like my grandpa stories, people are like, "Oh, Tom is," like when I make like a funny video, "Tom is drunk again." I was like,
that's hilarious. Love it, friend.
Like, motherfucker, it's 8 a.m.
Hey, well, congrats on your entire brand. You've grown tremendously. Yeah, you're putting out quality content. Go check out Tom's channel. I'm sure everyone here in the chat already knows it, but go check it out. Tom, thanks for coming on the channel. Appreciate you.
I love your work, man. It's one of the, how sometimes there's comedians that other comedians love to watch. You're the kind of channel that finance channels like to watch.
Appreciate
because
it.
It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a big compliment.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you. And for the record, the chat loves you as well. I know there's some people that don't like the swearing because we don't usually swear in this channel, but hopefully people.
Bro, you know how much hate comment when you grow more, you'll see like the amount of hate that comes. Like imagine, like think about it this way. Like I have a friend who told me this once. Like there's so much people in the world, you can't expect to please and be liked by every single person. And when you have this big pool of people watching you, there's bound to be a few that just don't like you. Like right now we have like 600, 700 people watch us. It's like imagine being in a room with 700 people and you're on stage. It's massive.
Right.
It's insane. Like not 100% of people would agree with anything you say or will like you. Some of them don't like my beard. Some of them don't like your glasses. Some of them don't like my accent, bro. All we can do is basically just tell them to go fuck themselves. That's all, bro. There's nothing we can do more. You thought I'll say something nice that I won't, bro.
All right. Love it. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for tuning on. Thanks, chat. Thanks for sticking by, and I'll catch you in the next video.